What is your name?
My name is Robert Amber Gourley, but everybody calls me Bob.
Where were you born?
I was born in Greer, South Carolina. That's Spartanburg County.
How did your family come to live here?
We came here in 1931 to go to work there. My father brought the family up, and we lived over there at East Marion, and he was ran the Carol Baldwin Hall. There was a YMCA over there.
What was your favorite toy and why?
Well, that's a long story sometimes. I loved to roller skate. I learned to roller skate real early. I was about 5 years old, and I still lived in Greer. And when we moved back from Greer to up here, and finally I've lived on Spring Street here in Marion. And I took my roller skates and a broomstick and a tin can, and we played hockey on Spring Street. And I loved that thing. And whenever there was a short time there when I had to finish a month out in the East Marion School before I went to the Marion Elementary School, I roller skated from my house there on Spring Street down Rutherford Road, up Baldwin Avenue to the East Marion Elementary School. And I did that for about a week and a half.
What was your school like for you as a child?
Well, it was a little bit different then. We had just 7 years of elementary school, and then we had 4 years of high school. So we just had 11 years, and you were a senior at high school. But at that time, we had an unusual situation. After you graduated from high school, you could continue another year of postgraduate work in high school. So I actually had 12 years, but y'all have 12 years now.
What school activities did you participate in?
Well, I loved to play in the band. That's what I really liked. And one time I was a manager for the football team, but I learned to play in the band when I was a freshman in high school, and I stayed that way all 4 years in high school, and plus the extra year in high school. They let me still play in the band then. I guess that was my favorite activity.
What was your religion growing up?
Oh, I was brought up in the Presbyterian church. I think when I lived in Greer, I was a Presbyterian, and I moved up here, I was a Presbyterian. But you know, I lived 2 doors down from a Methodist church in East Marion, and I went to Sunday school down there in the Methodist church, but I went to the regular church service at the Presbyterian church here in Marion.
How is the world different today from when you were a child?
Well, I think the most of it is all the gadgets they have these days. You've got television, you've got cell phones, you've got everything like that, and you've got all kinds of health things, you know. They've got you can make people well nowadays with the material that they have there and the machines they have now. They even have robot operations and everything else. But I suppose television is probably the biggest change from what we had when I was young.
Are there any special heirlooms that you have been passed down in your family?
I guess my favorite heirloom was not a particular heirloom, but it was a watch. My father had a gold watch that he'd had all his life, that his parents gave him because he didn't smoke. And he told me if I didn't smoke when I was young and growing up, that he'd give me a watch. Well, for some reason or other, I never did get that watch until my father died, and I grabbed that watch and I said, I'm going to take that watch home with me because it meant so much to me.
Would you tell us about your time in the military?
Well, that could take a whole long time, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about how it goes. I was in college in what they call ROTC, infantry. And as the war started, while I was in college there, World War II, I decided I didn't want to be in the infantry. I wanted to be in the Air Force. Why? I had never been off the ground in an airplane or not, but I decided I wanted to be in an Air Force. I took all the exams, physical and mental exams, and passed. I was sent to all the schools to educate myself into flying. Finally got my wings when I was in Phoenix, Arizona. Came back to Florida before I was sent overseas. And finally I was stationed with the 462nd Flying Squadron there in Lakeland, Florida. And when our time came to go overseas, we didn't go to Europe, we went to the Pacific area. We traveled across the country to Seattle, got a hold of a ship, traveled there, stopped for a moment there in a day in Oahu, and then we went on to the island of Iwo Jima. Our squadron flew off of Iwo Jima to give support to the B-29s that flew off of the Marianas Island, Guam, Saipan, and Tinian. The reason the Iwo Jima was captured, in my opinion, was because that was closer to Japan, and we would join on to those aircraft coming up. We just join on them and fly on to Japan to give them support. If we didn't have enough thing, we could fly 8 hours non-stop. And now in Europe, 4 or 5 hours non-stop, about as far as they could go. But we trained to fly 8 hours non-stop in the fighter plane. Now you can imagine, the way I'm sitting here, that's about the size of the cockpit that I sat in. I sat in that cockpit 8 hours to fly to Japan and back. But the most interesting thing I think that happened to me while I was flying those missions over Japan was I was flying northwest of Tokyo one time, and as I got home and landed on Iwo Jima, my mechanic there asked me, he said, "Lieutenant," said, "did you see that bomb?" I said, "What bomb?" "They dropped some kind of bomb on Hiroshima. They were doing, and did you see that bomb?" I said, "No, I wasn't anywhere near Hiroshima. I was over here. And Hiroshima's over this area." And I said, "I guess it's just some big blockbuster bomb like they were dropping in Europe. They were just bigger bombs and bigger bombs." And then I started listening to the radio, and I found out this was an unusual bomb. This was a nuclear bomb. I'd never heard of that, and it was unusual. So we got back there in our squadron and we listened for about a week or a week and a half or 2 weeks. And then we found out that they dropped another bomb on Nagasaki. Well, at that time, the Japanese decided to surrender. That meant a whole lot to both sides, actually. The Japanese were tough fighters. They didn't surrender. If we had gone into the island of Japan, like we did on Okinawa, the casualties on both sides would have been tremendous. I hate that we dropped the bomb. It changed the whole feeling of the world, but yet it saved lives at that time. At least that's the way we felt. So a short time later, the emperor, he surrendered, and then we all got to come back home.
What accomplishments are you most proud of?
Well, I think that I've had a lot of accomplishments that I've been proud of, and it's hard to say which is the most. I think that one of the biggest things I've enjoyed was I served as an elder in our church. Another, I was master of the Masonic Lodge, and then I enjoyed teaching band and chorus in high school. Those are the 3 things that I've probably enjoyed most. Unless you could say raising a family. I guess I enjoyed my children as much as anything.
What are your hobbies?
Well, at my age, you'd think that it's probably sitting in a chair would be the biggest hobby, but I have some hobbies that I like to play bridge. I love to play golf, and I still play in the community band. In fact, I brought my horn here just to indicate that I still play in the community band. This horn is almost 100 years old. The way I got it was my brother worked in a knitting mill down there on Logan Street that time, and he earned enough money to buy me this horn, and that was about 1938. And I've learned to play this horn, and I got to meet some band directors because I got to go to a state for, I was honored to be in one of the state bands, and I knew the band director at the University of North Carolina and at Davidson College and some others over here at Mars Hill. But it helped me get a a scholarship to college at Davidson because I could play this horn. When I got through playing the horn, though, and I turned it back to my brother and let his son play this horn in the Marion High School band. When he got through with it, my son grew up and he played this horn in the Marion High School band. And they all graduated, left town. Horn was just doing nothing. And about that time they formed this community band. And I contacted my son in Newport News, Virginia, and said, "Where's that old horn?" He said, "I've got it up here." I said, "Send it down to me. I want to play in this community band." Now, it'd been 50 years almost since I had played the horn, and I didn't know for sure if I could even play it. But I finally got this horn back, and I've enjoyed playing in this community band for about 5 or 6 years, and it's just been so nice to do that. And I just wondered if anybody else had a horn at about 100 years old almost, and or 87 years old and still playing it. But anyway, it's one I like to play. I don't know if I know anything by heart to play, but I'll try and see if I can do something. Everybody recognize the tune? My country 'tis a thee. I'm sorry I didn't play it any better.
Thank you for letting me interview you today.
I'm pleased to have you here. Thank you.